Have you ever felt like your brain is a computer with way too many tabs open?
Oh, absolutely. I
I've
mean, I
met.
think we all know that exact feeling.
Right. You're trying to focus on just a single piece of work, but humming in the background, consuming all your RAM, you've got a tab open for your anxieties about tomorrow.
And another one for that incredibly awkward thing you said at a party like 5 years ago.
Yes. A tab you just can't close. You've got a tab for your grocery list and a few dozen tabs constantly refreshing with whatever is happening on your social media feeds.
And slowly, inevitably, the whole system just starts freezing up from sheer information overload.
You are staring at the screen of your own consciousness, waiting for the spinning wheel of death to stop.
It is exhausting to even picture it. Yet, for so many of us, that's not just a bad day. I mean, that is the default state of our existence.
We're running our mental hardware at maximum capacity just to stand still.
Exactly, which leaves zero processing power for actual clarity or,
Hmm.
peace.
Which is exactly why we are going on today's deep dive. Our mission today is to explore the actual mechanics of mindfulness, the limits of human perception, and how to execute the ultimate system reboot for our consciousness.
It's a huge topic, but we have an amazing framework for it today.
We really do. We are pulling from a highly specific, totally fascinating source for this deep dive. This is based on a profound discussion produced by Buddha's Practice Incorporated over in Australia.
Right, featuring the teachings of speaker consultant Benny.
Yes, who is actively responding to the questions of Venerable Ivy, a seeker of Buddhist teachings. And the production of this material was handled by Notebook and Dawn.
It is a genuinely remarkable exchange. And what is crucial to understand right from the start is that we're not looking at this merely as ancient religious doctrine.
Not at all.
If you read closely into how consultant Benny breaks down these concepts, it reads like a highly practical and honestly sometimes brutally honest psychological manual.
It really does.
It's a diagnostic breakdown of exactly why we suffer, how our mental wiring gets crossed, and the specific mechanics of how we can stop that suffering.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand this ultimate system reboot, we first have to look at the initial diagnosis. According to this text, what is actually wrong with our default state?
Well, consultant Benny and Venerable Ivy discuss this idea that the human mind is fundamentally scattered.
Scattered across like a million different points out there in the external world.
Right. And the text claims that this constant scattered state eventually leads to a state of dullness or even foolishness. We literally lose our sharpness because we are spread too thin.
So, how exactly does the text suggest we fix this? How do we gather all this scattered attention back to a single point?
The text uses a metaphor that translates roughly to returning the light, or gathering the scattered light.
Returning the light.
Yeah. Right now, your light, your conscious awareness, is scattered outward, illuminating all those stressful open tabs we talked about. To return the light means pulling all of that energy back to a single, hyper-focused point.
And the specific tool consultant Benny discusses for doing this is the practice of chanting Amida Buddha's name, right?
Yes, but it is vital to understand that it's not just about repeating a word like a parrot. There is a deep underlying mechanical logic to it.
What kind of logic?
For instance, Benny points out that the very first syllable of the chant, the primordial A sound, literally translates to the unborn or the unproduced.
The unborn, meaning a state of reality that never had a beginning and therefore can never have an end.
Exactly.
Something entirely outside the cycle of things breaking down.
That's the core of it. It represents the internal, immortal nature of reality. So the text argues that when you are chanting this, you aren't just reciting foreign syllables.
You're doing something active.
You are actively tuning your scattered mind into your own eternal, pristine nature.
But mechanically, how does simply making a sound achieve that? I can hear the skepticism of someone thinking, well, how does a word close my mental tabs?
Think about the physical and psychological mechanism of chanting.
Ah,
By forcing your vocal cords, your breathing, and your active consciousness to align and focus on a single, sustained sound, you are literally starving those background anxieties of processing power.
oh, wow.
Your brain's default mode network, the part that generates all that constant self-referential worry, gets interrupted.
Because you're forcing the CPU to prioritize a single massive task.
Right, which collapses all those useless background processes. You are focusing entirely on the core operating system of your consciousness, which is already perfect.
And that level of singular focus generates an immense amount of power, according to the text. They use two incredibly striking metaphors to describe what this power actually looks like.
They do, yeah.
The first one Venerable Ivy brings up is the image of an elephant crossing a river.
It is a magnificent visual. Imagine a massive, powerful elephant wading through a rushing river. The currents are incredibly strong, the water is churning violently, but the elephant is so heavy, so grounded, and so immensely strong that it just walks straight through.
Completely unbothered by the chaos swirling around its legs.
Exactly. And in this text, that rushing river represents what they call the two deaths.
Which means both literal, physical death, the end of our biological bodies, and transformational death.
Right. Which refers to the constant agonizing changes, endings, and transitions we experience every day of our existence.
The text is saying that when your mind is truly focused on that single point, on the unborn, you gain the sheer psychological mass and strength of that elephant.
You can walk right through the terrifying currents of life and change without being swept away by the panic.
And the second metaphor takes that idea even further. It's the metaphor of the Kalavinka bird.
I love this one.
The Kalavinka is this mythical creature, and its defining characteristic is its otherworldly, beautiful voice. But the crazy part of the metaphor is when it actually sings.
Right. Consultant Benny explains that the Kalavinka bird's beautiful, resonant song can be heard loudly and clearly before it even hatches from its shell.
It's singing from inside the egg.
It is. And the implication here is incredibly deep. Think of the shell as your physical body and the limitations of your current, scattered, suffering existence.
Because you are trapped inside the cycle of life and death.
Exactly. You haven't hatched into enlightenment yet. But, Consultant Benny says, even while you are still inside that shell, if you focus your mind and engage in this practice, your voice, your pure intention, is already echoing throughout the entire universe.
It is already generating real, tangible power, even before you are fully liberated.
Precisely.
So if our focused intention is already echoing outward like that unborn bird, what exactly is echoing back?
That is the big question.
When we tune into that frequency, what are we supposed to be perceiving? Because Venerable Ivy brings up the descriptions of the Pure Land, the ultimate realm of the Buddha. And it sounds, well, very specific.
That sounds specific, yeah.
She talks about musical trees where the wind creates perfect melodies, and these beautiful magical birds that are everywhere. And Benny explains that these birds are actually manifestations of the Buddha himself.
Right.
Now, I have to offer some pushback here. If Consultant Benny is pushing this hardcore psychological view of the mind as an operating system, why does the text suddenly pivot to musical trees and magical birds?
It's a fair question.
It feels like we are jumping from computer science straight into a fairy tale. If this is the ultimate, non-dual, infinite realm of reality, why birds? Why wouldn't the Buddha just appear to everyone in his glorious, infinite, true form?
What's fascinating here is how Consultant Benny explains the mechanics of perception to resolve that exact tension. It all comes down to karma.
Which in this modern context we can think of as your personal frequency or bandwidth.
Yes. Benny states very clearly, you can only perceive reality based on the capacity of your own merit. If you lack absolute good merit, you literally lack the bandwidth to process or see the Buddha's true form.
It would be like trying to download a massive 8K ultra high definition movie on a dial-up internet connection from the 1990s.
Exactly. The system wouldn't just be slow, it would outright crash. You don't have the hardware to process the signal.
That's a bandwidth issue.
It's a bandwidth issue, yes. But I take it a step further, it's also a compassion issue.
How so?
The Buddha isn't just downgrading the file size so your dial-up connection can handle it. He's actively translating the language into something your specific hardware understands.
Ah, I see.
Because the Pure Land is a place with no evil, no suffering realms, the Buddha disguises himself within the observer's karmic range to deliver the teaching.
So if your current karmic frequency only allows you to comprehend the beauty of a bird or the pleasant sound of wind in a tree, the Buddha will manifest as a bird or a tree just to reach you.
Exactly.
That makes perfect sense. It's like trying to explain the complexities of quantum physics to a toddler. You can't just hand them a dense textbook full of differential equations.
No, they just throw it across the room.
Right. You have to explain it using their favorite cartoon characters or brightly colored building blocks. The Buddha is using the building blocks of your specific, limited reality.
Reality is customized to the exact frequency of your understanding.
The universe drills down into your limited worldview just to make sure the core message gets through the noise.
Which naturally leads us to ask, what happens when the message does get through?
Right, so the Buddha meets us at our frequency. He appears in a form our dial-up brains can process. But how does the actual mechanics of saving us, or fixing our scattered minds, operate in real time.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because consultant Benny drops the ancient mysticism for a second and uses an incredibly hardcore modern analogy to explain this process.
Yes, Benny basically describes the Buddha as the ultimate IT support technician.
It really is a brilliant analogy that ties back to our opening metaphor of the computer. Right now, your internal operating system is corrupted,
You've got all these malicious apps running, your greed, your anger, your ignorance.
and they are generating bad karma and suffering. Your system is a total mess. When you focus your mind, when you gather your light and call upon the Buddha, you're essentially opening a high-priority support ticket.
You are asking the IT guy to remote into your computer.
Exactly. And when the Buddha remotes in, he attempts a massive system repair.
Consultant Benny says he has to patch your vulnerabilities, delete your malicious software, fix all your syntax errors, and then install brand new software programs of wisdom, merit, and true capability.
It's a total overhaul.
But here's my question, and I'm sure anyone listening is thinking the same thing. If the Buddha is an infinitely powerful IT technician and he's actively remoting into our system, why isn't enlightenment instant?
That is the million-dollar question.
Why does the system repair take so much time, and why does it require so much continuous grueling focus from us?
That is the crux of the problem, and it leads to the absolute punchline of the exchange between Venerable Ivy and Consultant Benny. The repair takes time, and quite frankly, it often fails because we keep grabbing the mouse.
We literally won't let the IT guy work.
We won't. You call IT for help because your computer is crashing. They remote in, they start deleting the viruses and fixing the fundamental code, but then suddenly your old habits kick in.
You look at the screen and say, stand aside, Buddha, don't ruin my good mood. I need to go eat, I need to drink, I need to scroll social media, I need to have fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You forcefully rip your hands back onto the keyboard and the mouse so you can go back to running your corrupted, virus-laden programs.
Because you want the immediate distraction more than you want the permanent repair.
It is so painfully relatable. Think about what that looks like in daily life.
No, I know. You sit down to meditate, or you take a quiet walk, genuinely asking for peace of mind. You start to feel that system repair happening. You feel a moment of stillness.
But then, the second the quiet gets slightly
You
uncomfortable,
suddenly remember an email you forgot to send?
you completely rip yourself out of that peace. You grab your phone and start frantically checking notifications. That dopamine hit of the phone that is grabbing the mouse.
We dive right back into the toxic habits that caused our suffering in the first place.
And the crucial detail Benny emphasizes is that the Buddha profoundly respects your free will. He is not going to fight you for control of the mouse.
If you take control back to go chase sensory pleasures and anxieties, the Buddha simply stops, steps back, and waits.
He waits for you to realize, yet again, that your corrupted programs are causing you pain. To actually get the system fixed, you have to consciously refuse to follow your toxic desires.
You have to take your hands off the keyboard, sit with the discomfort of the repair process, and let the IT guy work.
But why is that so incredibly hard for us? Why do we fiercely protect the very software that makes us miserable?
Right. To answer that, Consultant Benny introduces a concept that translates to fumigation, or deep conditioning.
It's the psychological reality that we crave harmful things because we have been absolutely marinated in them for our entire existence.
And Benny does not hold back on the examples here. He uses these visceral, almost gross-out metaphors to make sure we understand the gravity of this conditioning.
Yeah, they are pretty intense.
He says, imagine someone who has been conditioned from birth to love drinking cow dung soup, or eating rotten fish that has been fermenting for a year, or cheese that is literally crawling with maggots.
To anyone outside that conditioning, it is completely repulsive. But to the person who has been marinated in that culture, it is a delicacy.
And Benny points out something profound about addiction and conditioning here. If you take those toxic things away from them, they don't feel a sudden sense of relief or purity.
They experience literal physical withdrawal. They suffer the very real pain of not getting what their corrupted system demands.
They might shake or salivate or feel profound psychological distress.
And that is the core of our daily problem. We are addicted to our own suffering. We are addicted to our anxieties, our anger, the drama in our lives, our petty grievances.
Because it gives us a false sense of control, that drama is our maggot cheese, and we get genuinely upset when someone or some mindfulness practice tries to take it away. We experience withdrawal from our own stress.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Benny is arguing that all of our suffering stems from this deep-seated, conditioned greed.
We've been marinated in these toxic desires for so long that we think they're a fundamental part of our identity.
We are like a piece of pristine white cloth that has been soaked in dark dye for decades. We look at the stains and we mistakenly believe, I am the stained cloth. This is just who I am.
We completely forget that our true nature, our base reality beneath all of that dye, is pristine and untouched.
Which brings us to a massive controversy that Venerable Ivy and consultant Benny have to address in the text.
Because when you explain it like this, an obvious question arises. Wait, so if the IT guy is doing the heavy lifting, couldn't someone just say the chant, sit back, and keep living exactly how they want?
I feel like a lot of people would look for that loophole.
They'd claim, look, chanting the name is enough. It counts as all the good merit I need. I don't actually have to change my behavior. I can keep eating the MAGA cheese. I can keep grabbing the mouse as long as I say the magic words.
Right. And when this exact loophole is brought up, consultant Benny reacts with absolute fury.
It is a moment of intense severity in an otherwise analytical text. Why is this specific mindset considered so incredibly dangerous?
Because it is a severe delusion, and according to Benny, it is a direct slander of the core teachings.
A slander.
Yes, the classic texts, the foundational rules of this entire mindfulness system, explicitly state that you cannot lack good roots, genuine merit, and proper behavioral causes.
You cannot just chant a word and expect it to magically overwrite a lifetime of toxic behavior if you have zero internal intention of changing how you live.
It's treating a profound psychological tool like a cheap magic trick. Benny uses a medical analogy here that grounds it perfectly.
The diabetic patient analogy.
Imagine a diabetic patient. They are suffering from the very real consequences of their illness. But instead of changing their diet, they are constantly binging on delicious, sugary sweets.
They are actively consuming the poison that is destroying their system.
You cannot maintain those active, toxic habits and expect a simple chant or a single pill to instantly cure you while you continue to poison yourself.
And consider the alternative of what that mindset implies. Consultant Benny warns that claiming you don't need good roots or that you don't need to change your underlying behavior is basically declaring that you know better than the system's architect.
The Buddha explicitly said you need to cultivate these positive behaviors. If you say you don't, you are essentially calling the ultimate IT guy a liar while he's actively trying to fix your computer.
Wow.
Benny warns that this arrogance, this refusal to do the actual uncomfortable work of clearing out your toxic conditioning, is a direct path to self-destruction.
You simply cannot maintain a completely unrepentant mind, fiercely hold on to your toxic habits, and expect a pristine, peaceful result. The mechanics just don't work that way.
So what does this all mean? We've covered a massive amount of ground today looking at this really intense, highly practical text from Buddha's Practice Incorporated.
Let's recap the journey of this system reboot. We start with the harsh diagnosis. Our minds are scattered, running corrupted software, entirely distracted by a million open tabs of anxiety and desire.
And the universe, in its compassion, tries to help us. It broadcasts a signal, a pure frequency, but it has to step down that frequency manifesting in forms we can understand, like birds or musical trees, just to match our limited dial-up bandwidth.
Yes, and when we finally do connect to that signal, when we try to initiate that system repair by focusing our minds and gathering our scattered light, we almost immediately sabotage the process.
We grab the mouse. We refuse to let go of our conditioned addictions, our metaphorical rotten fish and cow dung soup, because we mistakenly believe that those toxic habits are fundamental to our identity.
We have to start grabbing the mouse. We have to face the incredibly uncomfortable truth of our toxic conditioning, sit through the withdrawal of our own anxieties, and do the actual rigorous work of building positive behaviors.
We can't just rely on a magical loophole to save us from ourselves.
And yet, despite all of that heavy lifting, there is a deeply empowering realization waiting at the end of this text.
Consultant Benny reminds us of something profound about the very nature of our awareness. The sheer ability you are using right now as you listen to this deep dive. The ability to hear my words, to process these complex concepts, to see the world around you, that very mechanism of perception is your pristine, unborn nature.
You are not separated from it, trying to reach it across some vast gulf.
You are using a tool capable of infinite clarity every single second of every single day. The tragedy is just that most of the time we use this miraculous, pristine tool to endlessly chase after things that cause us suffering.
We are using a state-of-the-art supercomputer just to run malicious software, which leaves you with a final provocative question to ponder as we wrap up today's deep dive. If your mind possesses the exact same base operating system as a fully enlightened being, if you have that infinite unborn capacity sitting right there behind your eyes, perfectly capable of clarity, what specific piece of corrupted software are you going to choose to run the second this conversation ends?